Winning the prize of the digital revolution. The availability of the IMG establishment technologies had set before us a make-or-break point. Either full grey governments would continue their arrogation of the constitutional laws, or we would mature in our understanding of the law with SAL's encoded medallions and the separation of constitutional and grey governments. Either the capitalist unlimited economic extremes would continue to ride roughshod over the real economic foundation of the world's nations, or we would formally give rise to the suite of necessarily capitalist LTD institutions and businesses and bequeath the good life to all in all nations, rich and less rich, with home DAO integrity. Now, if mankind would have passed through this digital revolution without advancing its civilization to one divide, elevated and cooperative security advanced heights, and rather preserved the powers that were in their fully grey bloated forms and from Martian heights and with all the gates of the capitalist excesses kept intact, then what a wasted opportunity it would have been. Before humanity would pretend itself out of existence, or walked millions more to death by climate-wrought crop failure and floods and by tyrant and artificial debt, we transgressed against the stupidity of the capitalist extremist, fully grey governed world, and gave rise to Intel modernized governance. The intelligence, of course, is what we make AI to safeguard in the home DAO integrity and the vast occupational gates of freedom. The home pyramid embedded SAL's encoded medallions are the prize of the digital revolution. This is the turnkey democracy by which we formally limit capitalism and release our nations from the death grip from Martian heights. The all-in medallions capitalist LTD party establishes two orders of constitutionally interested governance and sets at an appropriate distance what remains of grey government besides. The sum of 3G HEAD and HOME medallions, operative in the economy, build up the 3 and national class ruling structure and the capitalist LTD economy. Applying the prize of the digital revolution, the city opens constitutionally interested governance in an FML FIRE to see through to keep everyone accountable, whether in a risky or non-risky occupation, to the 3 GDPX level economic fields. Every head and home medallion bank card wielding man in the daily act of earning, spending and transacting at once gives power to one divide governance and elevates the national security forces to cooperative security heights. The high constitution technologies deliver the historic luxury and modern necessity of drawing the one divide between the capitalist LTD suite that lives and the old, no longer necessary evils that die a permanent death. Two governing defences of constitutional law from the FML FIREs and the National Defence Forces at Cooperative Security Heights are executive powers that defend the 3 and national class rule in all COC national directions. Constitutional life given the IMG in the FML FIREs results in a sustainable capitalist LTD economy. This results from the decision to rise above the non-governance of the foundation money law with the pre-intelligence state currencies and the malgovernance of the control of who can spend with the banker's digital currency. Upgrading the money system to Intel-friendly digital currency, we give democratic favour to the 7 gates and 3 fields of occupational freedom. From each City of Light's FML FIRE extends a pillar with first constitutional competence, all on the same capitalist LTD economic page, to the Cooperative Security Centers that constitutionally interested governance from these true centers drains the world of the needless toxin of full grey lawmaking. The outrageously morbid and stupefying political crises of the previous era are dissolved. The sum of all home medallions is the capitalist LTD party. No longer divided against one another nationally and internationally by the red or blue, left or right and us versus them associations, everyone on Earth essentially belongs to 2 orders of 3 sovereigns defending and defended national security. The triple 3 capitalist LTD economy reigns because everyone is solid with a 3G HEAD and or HOME Medallion to the two governing defences of constitutional law. Simultaneously, the ministries, agencies and departments of the grey governments have their particular and constitutionally adjacent duties. From FML FIRE scored and constitutionally developed cities, we gain the lens to the constitutional laws, thoroughly and democratically establishing Intel modernized governance into the economic digital zone, is maintaining of an earthen range of inequality and ends the Martian Heights episode. With it, we achieve good constitutional government in vertical international parallel of the foundation money law, a law that would otherwise have been covered with the laws fully grey. When constitutionally interested governance, and its best feature being its universality, the vertical international parallel is, by the intelligent and the pro-democratic, programmed to discriminate through the one divide against no human being, and only against the 5 occupational evils. So then shall we have won the prize of the digital revolution. Then we shall have removed the plastic grey vertebrae holding up the heads engaged in class war and competitive international military madness. We shall have brought into the upper class that savagely idiotic Martian Heights class. We will have achieved 2 perspectives, the subjective and grey zone of interpretation, experience and thought, and the universal 3 and national class ruling structure upon the one divide. If the world's nations are to elevate above the raw, warring money foundation, and so to preserve for centuries and millennia and 10,000 times that, then we must live with the sum of every individual sovereignty to 2 freedoms, plus every COC nation's sovereignty from the FML FIREs and Cooperative Security Heights. Upgrading the money system with home medallions, we collectively intervened with the digital intelligence revolution to no longer remain dependent on the full grey agenda. The one divide elevating technologies finally drained the unbearable and unsustainable economic evils to the swamp of the 5 excesses. The once dominant fascistic ties between big business and full grey governments through reaching Martian heights of inequality were broken. All business, risky and non-risky, was made accountable to the first constitutional governance. If the Martian Heights rulers' grasp had tightened on the digital fortune, so the 3-class ruling structure would have been prevented and constitutionally interested governance would have been denied. Military lions would have continued to grow morbid in musculature, usurping the digital weaponry to gouge one another and devour military lambs. Genocide by cultural genocide, all the while peripheral surveillance paralysed and scrubbed us of critical thought. The old centre that had not aged well, having become ruined with fascism, was the single capital city with its primitive chim sponsoring full greyness in law. The single capital city centre was the heart and mind of the military lion that could only equate patriotism with aggression, in the name of defense and a profit motive, and international securitization of money structure control in the stead of national security. Only when intelligence, that semi-conscious machine, here dubbed the AI king that is our highest technological development, becomes harnessed by true democratic and pan-COC nation-respecting forces, can we inspire our respective national defense forces to cross the bomb to Cooperative Security Heights and cut the jugular veins of the military lions. Digital technology is available to each COC national people as apex Western technology to enable us democratically to give birth to a capitalist LTD Olympic spirit-infused economy. That is exactly the competitive games on the fields protected from the Cooperative Security Heights, as it should be. If democracy, and not the Martian Heights tyranny, is to win the prize of the digital revolution, the competitive spirit and capacity of all individuals can be respected, and the Cooperative Security competitive games relation of the Olympic Games and sporting events can be emulated. Every COC nation is acknowledged, respected and included by and in the Cooperative Security Forces in order that all COC nations can achieve 3 sovereign success. National security is achieved on the operation of the first order of constitutional governance, from the city centre that protects the three and national class ruling structure and gives life via the taxways, capways and highways to the suite of necessarily capitalist LTD institutions and businesses, and by the second order of constitutional governing cooperative security forces who are unwavering in their engagement of the equality of national security mission. Seizing the prize of the digital revolution, money is transformed to become the gates and letters of freedom, while the constitutional and grey governments open in operative adjacency. The digital revolution culminates with constitutionally interested governance in the city centres and in the cooperative security centres that protect the relations of the freestanding home denominations of wealth. Home bank medallions enable us all to have economic freedom and to be agents of the constitutional good. Everyone in the FML fire-scored cities and towns is endowed with a first freedom to earn money and build home wealth, and to find a place in the three and national class ruling structure, whether within or without the capitalist LTD realm. Seizing the prize of the digital revolution, the constitutionally interested governor of the digital plateau has the power to sustain economic freedom, with competition on the fields of the greater cities, farms and towns, and through the East Paradise Corporation, and cooperation at the Cooperative Security Heights. The application of the high constitution technologies differentiates what was undifferentiated. With competition on the fields of economic play and cooperation at the level of security, the model of the Olympic Games and sporting events is realized. The Intel-friendly digital currency permanently replaces the mono-denomination of wealth money in order that constitutional health can be built on linking the four freestanding home denominations of wealth. The upgrade in the money system to constitutionally interested foundation money law governance permanently ends the threat of central bank digital currency, and thus the ability of a non-democratic state to force conformity upon all of us with their fully man-made laws. Since the inception of digital technology, much has been given form, including smartphones, computer games, biometric surveillance cameras, social media platforms, self-driving cars, data storage devices, and language model AI. However, none of those technologies have delivered anything in the way of a constitutional blessing. Conversely, much of the digital technology set in place in the era of full grey government dependence lends itself to turnkey totalitarianism. The true magic is in getting a home medallion from the digital ethers in time into the hands of the nationals all around the world. It is in advancing the phenomena of the internet from serving a society with absolute economic anonymity and peripheral security surveillance into a constitutional plane known as the One Divide, to keep everyone accountable to a sustainable and non-violent capitalist LTD economy. While everything on the World Wide Web was yet upon a raw money foundation and its periphery, the potential of digital currency to become a force of constitutional good is realized as we build the highways, taxways and capways, an era above that raw money foundation. While previously there was naught but cutthroat competition in a capitalist unlimited economy, now from FML fire-scored cities and towns, the intelligence-modernized governor crowns the digital plateau to give systemic support to the institutions and occupations fit for a capitalist LTD economy and to protect the two freedoms, foundational and dualic, of every woman and man. Setting our obsessions with the 100 gadgets that have surfaced from the kilns of the digital revolution into perspective, it is time to capture the prize in the SAL's encoded medallions that can score the cities with the FML fires. Smartly now we set our thoughts and freedoms within a structure of constitutional health, as we set grey government adjacent to the constitutional. From here, in vertical international parallel, in a world no longer opaque with full grey national governments, we rule in favour of the people with the good governing vision into the architectures of the digital plateau. Building the taxways, capways and highways, therein the digital landscape shall cleanse us of the excesses and enable us to earn and build wealth and enjoy the myriad good in the world's nations. As the FML fires open in the city and town centre, everyone is held accountable to the 3 fields, 3 and national classes, and 3 competitive intensities. As the National Defence Forces apply the equality of national security mission through the Cooperative Security Centers, every COC nation is held accountable to the 3 sovereigns standard. Full grey governments recede to the extent that the first and second constitutional centres push open. What was profit-driven, competitive international military madness improves to profit-accompanying cooperative militarism. What was a vain response to destructive energies improves on aligning all home bank cards to oil and nuclear plus energies. An edge is given inequality as the cities settle with H1 to 24 tier appraised 3-class rule calibrating homes. COC nations gain sovereignty to generate the superior GCC and IFDC monies in the circles of life on continental high. These new monies have edges that accord with the constitutional laws and end the clandestine practices of the commercial and central banks. No longer are there extreme amounts of electronic and paper monies created out of thin air. In building up the FML governing institutions, so liberty, freedom, national sovereignty with the digital revolution are not wasted. Each FML fire is a rendezvous of the 3 sovereigns' constitutional victory. From the FML fire scored cities, we mature out of the full grey government artifices that warped the nations into absolute opposition and difference. These constitutional centres realise the same 333 capitalist LTD economy everywhere. The gates to grey and constitutional government and the capitalist LTD economy are lettered freedom and are open. The gates to the capitalist excesses and tyranny are closed. The capitalist LTD Olympic spirit-infused economy is born as each youth on occupational maturity receives the DPX seared medallion from the light of the COC stars on continental high. Everyone has a happy beginning in the IMG era in every COC national city and town to find a place, earning and building the 4 denominations of wealth within the 3 competitive intensities, lower, middle, higher, 3 classes, lower, middle, upper, and 3 occupational fields, East Paradise Corporation, Greater City, 2nd DOC Armed Forces, according to their own competitive spirit and capacity. Intel-friendly digital currency links with each of the other 3 freestanding denominations of wealth. Contrary to the old mono-denomination of wealth money that built no structure of constitutional health, and made possible only grey governance, in the IMG era, each can find a place earning money and building H1 plus, E1 plus home wealth within the earthen range of inequality, while effortlessly and simultaneously being a first constitutional force to secure the 3 and national class structure. As such, upgrading the money system, we piece together the digital plateau and elevate the structure of competition. Piece by piece, the IMG establishment elevates the 1 divide, building the 3 and national class ruling structure with the novel architectures. Gaining our necessary role in national security on becoming accountable to city central first constitutional governance, we prevail victorious in a world organized in 2 governing defenses of constitutional health. Every COC nation gives and receives equality of national security from the 3 cooperative security centers because the FML fires build the trust of the national defense forces to cooperate. The greater cities settle into a 3-class ruling structure by virtue of the H1 to 24 tier appraised homes. Each greater city bank card, known for its systemic national security utility as a medallion, is encoded with a 4-faceted pyramid whose base is a 1 divide level squared circle of the home denominations of wealth. No individual is given the raw money treatment. Every nation is alive with constitutional governance in its FML fires. None are reduced to the status of a concubine for a smaller territorial size. The price of wallowing in a world of nations with raw money and 100% grey laws is that we lose the prize of the digital revolution to tyranny. becometh of it the inferior forms of central bank digital currency, AI smart police, and strong AI military robots. The FML fires above and the tombs of fear below are set in permanent juxtaposition, and so ever shall the historic luxury and modern necessity of high constitution technologies of the one divide be known for the full grey government arrogation and mono-denomination of wealth money gridlock that went before. Ever through the genre of full grey government science fiction shall we be free to see what would have been if liberty had been lost, if tyranny had from Martian heights gained the supreme power. Given the golden opportunity to implant the one divide sky, opening Apex West technologies into the city and town centres, and to surgically end racism and end the arms race on a global scale on elevating our respective national security forces to cooperative security heights, and that all crossing from the landscape of occupational death to the freedom range of mountains receive a 3G HEAD and or HOME Medallion, it is with patent absurdity that anyone, whether in government office or not, should remain a stooge for the perpetuation of absolute economic privacy. The absolute grey difference between nations and the stupendous levels of Martian heights greed. That said, no person by the lights of the house of the IMG era shall ever be regarded as evil. Government, we are well to recognise, is only as good as its tools. By mono-denomination of wealth money do we make a rapid departure from civilization, from our humanity, and from Earth. By the architectures that enable us all to be accountable to the first constitutional government, to either minimal or maximal degrees of privacy, do we globalize the capitalist LTD Olympic spirit-infused economy and constitutional health.